All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of Canada Hoops. Thank you for your continued support. Please continue to download, like, and share us. Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. The senior men's national team for Canada basketball lost to France today, 82 to 73 at the Paris Olympics in the quarterfinals, eliminating them from the tournament. Their journey will no longer continue. And to join us once again, our good friend Scott Witter from X.com. Scott, initial thoughts, man, on a frustrating game, and a lot of disappointment for everyone involved.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Like I said, I before we got on here, I asked you if I can swear or not, and I'm just I'm not going to. I'm gonna try not to. But it's this is the problem with single elimination tournaments, right? If this was a 7 game series, you could bounce, you chalk it up one bad game and bounce back from it. But a lot. I wouldn't say everything went wrong because Shea still dropped 27 points, but almost everything else went wrong. I know a lot of people are crying and griping and complaining online about the referees. They have a legitimate complaint. But that was obviously not the only issue. There could be multiple issues in a loss like this. And frankly, I had one of my, as your listeners might know, I'm down in the States. So I had my little basketball thread with my American buddies. They're all pressing me on betting lines. And I think it was France plus 8.5. And I'm like, guys, like, I don't know what to say here because I don't know what like the home cooking is going to be for France. The cards were laid on the table during the Japan game, right? You saw I basically believed Canada was going to have a pretty substantial lead in the fourth to keep the refs really out of the game or at least from determining the game. And I didn't think that they would, I think I tweeted that they jumped on our neck right from the get go and tried to hold us
Yeah,
underwater for the whole game. Now we played like crap too. Let's not get it wrong, but I felt like we had runs there to get back multiple times, and every time we got close, 7, 11, 9 points, the breaks were applied by the referees, and it just a lot of uneven calls. I think I felt France was getting away with a pretty rough game, and we were getting called for a lot of pretty simple touch fouls and things like that. But there were some very blatant misses, but I just think it was pretty uneven overall. But if Canada played a good game and the guys who have been showing up showed up, we still would have got through that game. And that didn't happen. And we can get into kind of why and start poking holes in this team and the strategy. And it was a very flawed team that really lived and died by a small ball strategy that didn't really adjust out of it, and they died by it today. And it was going to be vulnerable to a team just like France or Serbia with the size, the strength, the power inside. It's going to work on the teams that are a little bit more guard and wing dominant or need that point guard to really initiate the offense. That wasn't really this French team. They just kind of were dumping it inside to people that we should be familiar with. I don't think everybody is familiar with Matthias Lassord and Gabasale. These are very good EuroLeague players. They're very powerful, strong power forwards, and it was just too much for us to handle. And I don't think Jordy adjusted really anywhere close to quick enough. So I'm going to stop there, and we can dig into that a little bit more. But let's talk about maybe what went wrong, what could have been done different, and maybe the where we go from here.
well, to add to some of your points, like the officiating, we talked about it in group chats on X, and that was a legit concern I had, just knowing that they're not the strongest, and then you factor in it's France at home and in front of a raucous crowd and atmosphere that was electric. Um, like the the free throw disparity in the first half was 25-8 in favor of
Yeah.
France. I mean, I don't like. Canada did not play well. We know that. They really struggled and got off to a poor start. They acknowledged that post game. They just seemed to be a little shell shocked in moments. Didn't have movement on offense, and then if they have to fight the officials in free throw disparity as well, that's a tough
Yeah,
situation. And at half, Jordy was like, "This can't continue, can it? Like this is crazy."
yeah,
Feeling like they were handicapped, and I thought post game, like Jordy mentioned, he thought he needed to do better and didn't do his job and didn't help the guys. And with him saying that, like I can understand that, but I also wonder like where he thought he would do that because I just felt like
yeah,
the players didn't produce outside of Shea. I mean, we know what we're gonna get with Shea, and with Shea we have a way sometimes and
yeah,
didn't work today. RJ finished with 16. I mean, he was his consistent self in this tournament, but man, Jamal Murray, 3 of 13. Like you needed him to just knock a couple down to keep France a little more honest. And the turnover battle wasn't even crazy today. At one point, I think in the fourth quarter, it was 11-11 in terms of
yeah.
turnovers for each team.
17
Uh,
France, 14 Canada. We won the turnover battle.
yeah, it just seemed like okay, a slow start. Dylan, I thought throughout the tournament and his time with the senior men's national team usually has good starts.
Yeah,
He just wasn't there today at 2 points.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
So,
the bigs inside for France, they had a good game plan. They
yeah.
adjusted and didn't start Rudy and um,
So let's give the French credit, right? So that was the game plan. They
yeah,
earned, probably a free throw disparity, but maybe not that much, right? They kind of came at us with at the four spot and really, they earned a lot of those fouls, but there was a lot that were just, little ticky tack ones, I thought. But, we didn't lose the rebounding battle. And we actually, I think it was 36-37 for France, and we had 15 offensive boards to their 10. So it's just, we just really got pounded on, and they were sent to the, I think they were in the bonus shooting, you know, free throws on everything at 6 or 7 minutes in the second quarter. Like it was crazy.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. They got bullied, man, just on the block in every way, and I felt like the officiating fed into it. It seemed like
yeah,
Lasort and Yabusele were able to kind of dip their shoulder and get guys back into the paint off the block for sort of an easy lay in. And,
yeah.
if they're going to allow that, then give us some on the other end. And
Oh,
yeah, it was frustrating to see them get bullied. And that was, the
yeah,
the topic of lack of size and just throughout the tournament and heading into it. And,
so,
this was evident today. It was, and it's interesting that like going into the quarters after the group play, the consensus was France is the most ideal matchup, as opposed to Germany or Serbia, right? And
mm,
it just didn't
yeah,
didn't work today, and they had a good game plan, and
yeah,
against more perimeter, same similar size teams, Canada is more efficient and effective for sure. And man, the missed free throws too. Shea missed some that he's a 90% free throw shooter, and he missed them at key times in the game too when Canada was making a little push. Like we got down to 5 in that fourth quarter, and it felt like okay, some missed free throws, and this is a different approach for both teams because the game is that much closer, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, just did you have any issue with any of the rotations or
yeah.
lineups today, Scott? Like I mean, like
Absolutely.
that was a theme throughout the tournament. I didn't necessarily think it was as glaring today
Mhm.
because I thought Jordy was just trying to find a way to get something going. But just any thoughts on the rotations, man?
Well, sure, and I might be hyperbolic in this comment, but we have arguably Canada's best ever big that was sitting on the bench and thrown in the trash the entire tournament in Kelly Olynyk. And we're so outsized. He was starting on the World Cup team last year. And I get it. his foot speed maybe wasn't there, and Jordy wants to play this like, fast switching, small ball style, but having some versatility. It's not a guy who just showed up and you don't know what you're going to get from him. This is a guy like Kelly. Like I joke, but I call, FIBA Kelly. We used to talk about, right, as this guy who is almost a guaranteed 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists in FIBA. Now again, those were weaker teams and weaker opponents, and but I'm just kind of looking at Kelly's player profile, and he really is like a 17 7 14 guy. In a lot of his career is kind of prime careers, like some of these qualifier games for Canada going into the World Cup and stuff like that. So I don't know, like, I'm not the genius basketball mind who can see exactly like why he's completely unplayable. Especially in a game like this where it's the 4 spot. He's a natural 4. Like, why isn't he coming in next to Dwight and trying to battle with Lasort or Yabusele? He's got a good
Yeah.
inside game too. When Wemby's off the floor, Gobert was a non-factor today. Wemby was certainly a factor on defense, but he was chucking up bad shot after bad shot. Why didn't Kelly get a chance? He's going to Trey Lyles. I guess there's some familiarity there from the years in Sacramento, but Trey Lyles gave us really nothing this tournament, right? We got some muscle out of Cam Birch in spot minutes, but Kelly was, like I said, thrown out into the garbage heap, and for a team that was just desperate for size. He might as well have not been there, right? For how much he played. I think he only played a couple minutes in this game today. So there's a bit of angst with me of like Jordy trying to stick to this small ball where it was clearly France's game plan to really attack that 4 spot with these guys. And we've seen it at other points in this tournament, and there was really not much really adjustments from Jordy there, and he never really figured out what he had with this bench whatsoever, right? So we basically have a team of it's really 5 guys, and Nembhard and Murray is really all he really worked with. You got 2 guys in the starting lineup who are extremely volatile offensively, in Dylan Brooks and Lou Dort. Eventually, you're going to have a game like this. We know Dylan Brooks can go 1 for 9. He's played above his head all tournament long and all World Cup long. So all you're really left with is SGA and Barrett to kind of carry the offense, because we can get into the Jamal Murray question. We saw this from the beginning. We probably saw this last summer, what was going on with Jamal Murray. And of course, what showed up, he was non-existent the entire tournament. Probably would have been a better team without him out there if we took those minutes and just gave him to Nembhard and said, hey, you're the 6th man, you're going to produce offense, you're going to handle the ball. But again, we gave, I think, 20 something minutes to a very not informed Jamal Murray. He was freaking terrible. And he was all tournament, and he was in the exhibition games. And I don't know why, you see him closing out a game when we're on a run. We don't see what's going on in practice. We don't know what's happening there, but he was not there all tournament long.
Yeah, the Jamal thing is interesting. I know been a constant story. I was kind of at the point where, okay, he's just accepting a role, and who knows what's being said in the meetings. But yeah, just he would make a shot and then turn it over, jump in the air for a pass out of bounds. Just didn't look comfortable. Obviously today and throughout the whole tournament. I thought when he was shooting a jumper, he just looked tight with it.
Yeah.
I don't know, like those minutes probably better served to Andrew Nembhard. And when Andrew had a chance to get going in a rhythm and get minutes, when Shea got into foul trouble, was against Australia, right? I think Andrew was real good, right? So yeah, some of the rotations are a little wonky. It's I think the Kelly thing is interesting because it's 2-sided. It's you're looking at it, can he produce? and be effective. And then it's Kelly Olynyk who's played a lot for the program. And if you're in a situation where you're down and you're just trying to get something going today against France, then just let it ride, man. Unleash it.
Yeah.
Put Kelly out there. Just see what happens. He's going to be a smart player on the floor. He's not going to be turning it over. And if he takes up a couple fouls, so be it. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I thought the Kelly thing today was
Kelly played 3
kind of
minutes
wonky
today.
because he got out there and then it was like, okay, yeah, he committed a foul and um, just wasn't there for him in terms of
Yeah.
minutes. So moving forward, like listen, Los Angeles is a long way away. The Paris Olympics aren't even over, but Jordy may or may not be the coach, and um, Kelly's not going to be on this team. But it's just you look at lineups and rotations again, and it's going to be a very different team anyway. But it's a tough loss. I know, like just the reactions everyone was having, whether we
Yeah.
were texting or it was on X, and it was just everybody across the Canada basketball landscape. It was like, what, this can't be happening. Like, I mean, I'm not surprised in a way, just given like the what was ahead of them in terms of France at home,
Hmm.
and it's
Hmm.
just we keep harping about the officials, and yeah, we got to get this lead in the fourth quarter so that the officials can't turn this game into something else. And
Hmm.
but yeah, we just did not shoot the rock well. I mean, missed 16 of 21 threes throughout the game, man, which was evident,
A lot
or
of them were
sorry,
good
brutal.
looks too.
They were good looks, Scott, but it was also like because of the size inside, paint penetration at times was difficult. So you have to be able to make these shots.
Yeah.
You have to bust this defense down like that. You got to make your outside shots, and it just wasn't there. And I mean, um, Shea took a little bit to get going, but you knew that was never an issue. And I think
Yeah.
the team started to really look to him a lot, which is natural, but it maybe took away from other guys' offense a little bit too. Where okay, got to get Shea going. What's Shea
Yeah.
gonna do? And
Oh.
other guys seem to kind of defer where maybe they had a look as well. So
Hmm. Hmm.
um, interesting game, man, and just so and it's frustrating too because listen, 3-0 in the group, which was the toughest
Yeah.
group, obviously.
Well, I think that's why everyone's so
Have a
twisted, right?
quarterfinal like today. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's the expectations were high. Obviously, you know, Vegas odds had us as the second in line as a gold medal challenger. Good pool play, good wins against good teams. But something like this is bound to happen, and it's just frustrating that you saw a path to victory here, and I feel like the referees just like squashed that, right? I'm like, I kept going, we got to be able to get out of this. We can get out of this. We can get out of this. And just every little run we had was just smushed, usually by the referees, sometimes by a Evan Fournier or Hail Mary. But that's why I think everyone's just frustrating. I'm not going to be a homer here, and with a comment like this, Canada was a better team, a more talented team, probably beats
yeah.
this French team in a 7-game series, like 4-1, 4-2 maybe. But this was the game, and it got caught up, and you shouldn't be too surprised. It's at home in Paris. You dang well better believe that they would love to see a France USA final. So the
Right.
Germans better be thinking about that. But it's just the way it is, and it's unfortunate, and just didn't really show up. So what can you do?
What was your favorite part about this team, the senior men's national team, and feels like a bit of a short run in this tournament, obviously with only 4 games and losing the quarterfinal, but we got a sense of this group and this program finally in the Olympics after 24 years. Watching these 4 games, just a bright spot or a positive or something you just really enjoyed about this group, man.
Well, it's nice to be considered a favorite going into games like this. So
Yeah,
if you want to say like Canada's arrived, sure, Canada's arrived. This is a gold medal contending team. We should be in every single tournament we go into. So if they can kind of keep the momentum and keep these guys bought in and hungry, and we get a decent level continuous commitment. I think a really big thing here was this kind of core 14 concept and trying to get these guys in there year after year for 2-3 years together. I think you can see the downside of guys not showing up with Jamal Murray. He was an ugly duckling out there. He just didn't fit in, didn't know what the role was. Maybe we would have sorted that out last year or the year before if he actually showed up to these games and figured out, how does he fit in with this team and what's his role. So I don't know what was wrong with him. I don't know if he was injured. I don't know if his head wasn't there. I don't know if he just doesn't fit on a team like this, that he needs to be the ball dominant guard. And you can't do that with Shea because he's just better. So I don't know what the fit is with Murray, and this is a harsh thing to say. I don't know if we see him again, right? I don't know, but there's a whole wealth of young guys coming up. We obviously have a problem up front that may or may not be solved by the time we get to next big tournament, or we got to figure out other ways around it, or we got to figure out other ways for guys to step up. But there's a lot of guys here that I think were like completely minimized or didn't show up, or we relied too heavily on 5 or 6 guys, and when 2 or 3 of those are having an off game, it's just too much to compensate for, because you're not getting anything from a 7th man or an 8th man or 9th man. Just next to nothing there. I think oh no, Jamal Murray scored 7, but he took 13 shots. At least Cam Birch
Yeah.
chipped in 5 points, but got nothing from Nembhard today. Zero. He didn't even take a shot. You got 3 minutes from Kelly Lamont today. Those are good players. Nikhil was minimized this entire tournament, right? I don't know. So there's some disappointment there that we had all this talent, but we just as well might have showed up with these first 6 players and then had Bill and Tommy and sitting on the bench and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think a thought I had is you can be disappointed with this result. The ending of this tournament, it was cool, like you said, to come into this and have Canada be considered a favorite and a real legit chance to medal. After having not been at the Olympics for 24 years. So yeah, today stings. But I think you can be excited about the future and knowing that the depth um, that lies ahead, and there's a lot of guys that are going to fight for roster spots for the senior men's national team moving forward in the next couple of years that are really good players, and they're going to maybe push some of the guys off this current team off the roster, and um, the lack of size, as the tournament got going, and even really leaving camp and in the exhibition stuff, Zach Eady never really came up, and then I started seeing stuff today where it's like, what if Zach was here, and that's one guy, and how much would he have done? I don't know. I mean, he is
I
going to
don't
take
I
some
don't think
fouls. He's a
Jordy I don't
big,
think Jordy was prepared to use him, right? I just don't think
yeah,
Jordy had his system, and this is what he was going to live and die by. And bringing Zach Eady off the bench, and to warp your team around him, I don't think was in the cards for Jordy here. Now, the next cycle, let's just say Zach Eady turns into a real NBA player that makes a difference and continues to. He seems very dedicated and committed to the national team. Then yes, they build a team around him as the starting center, and you warp your defense around him, and that's maybe the one light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know, too early to tell. I firmly believe he wouldn't have made a difference here.
right. Well, I know one thing I loved, knowing that it was um, probably his likely last big tournament for the senior men's national team was Dwight Powell. Man, I thought Dwight played his butt off all tournament, played his role really well, fit the starting lineup, the way you want it, and um, he's going to give you everything he's got, and you're not asking him to do anything beyond what he's capable of. So nice to see Dwight play well and
Nice.
um,
But
you
you're
know,
also
be
getting what, like 4, 5, 6 points a game from your starting center, right?
yeah. I mean, it's listen when you have other offensive guys who are supposed to contribute, you're willing to give on that, given Dwight's ability to defend and rebound. I thought he was strong
Yeah.
on the glass. But yeah, I mean the lack of scoring. RJ was consistent.
You
Nice to see that from him, but nothing from Nemhard today. You're just kind of shaking your head. And
didn't take a
Jamal,
shot.
maybe
15
like when we
minutes.
look on the history of the senior men's national team and Canada basketball, Jamal Murray might be this enigma that's just like what happened or what
It could
if,
have been.
and
Yeah.
it's hard to say, right? There's been guys like that in the past for the program. You're just kind of like, man, what is going on here, right? So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they've got a good outlook, I think, because there's they even had guys at camp where this summer that were around the team that
Yeah.
were competing for roster
But
spots,
do but
but
do
they're
do
hungry.
we have a good outlook? Do we have a good outlook? We've got, again, all these guards and wings,
We
and
need bigs.
who are the fours and fives of the future?
Yeah, we need
We
we
don't.
need bigs.
Yeah, like, or we're just gonna run into this problem again. Like, I don't know. Like, does Brandon Clark solve our problem here? 6'7", 6'8", Brandon Clark. I don't know. FIBA's a very, very different game. I don't think so. I don't even know if he's bought in. But people talk about a lot of these young guys. Well, we don't know. None of them are established. None of them, we still don't know what Omax or Leonard Miller or any of those guys are going to be. They could be nothing more than borderline G League guys.
Right.
Um, I don't know. I don't know where we go from with here. You kind of have all your eggs, hoping Zach Edey turns into something, and maybe something else comes along. But we always are going to have an issue of guys missing for whatever reasons, injuries, free agents. We got lucky this summer. That's what people don't understand is we got lucky we had no free agents this summer.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of guys that would have been sorted out by the Olympics, and that free agency really haunts us when we're playing in a June qualifier to get into the Olympics, or hurts us in the World Cup in different ways. But we had most of the guys here. We had some issues with Wiggins and Zach for sure, but I don't know when the next summer is that we're gonna get like everybody together. Maybe the bright side of that is my view is the young guys are harder to get. They're always harder to get until they've gotten to their kind of first big contract. That's why you don't see guys like Shaden Sharp involved early. That's why we've never seen Jamal Murray until now, or
Right.
SGA really until the last summer or two. So we have some of our best players getting into those prime years where they've they're way up there in the earnings, so they're going to be maybe more comfortable playing FIBA. But it's still kind of tough to get these young guys in, and I really don't see where we solve this big problem, unless it's Zach Edey, right?
Yeah. I mean, he stands out. We'll have to see kind of who develops and who becomes available. Whether it's contracts or just wanting to commit as well. Like hopefully Canada basketball has, with the core and qualifying for the World Cup and the World Cup last summer and now Paris, you would think that the program has done everything it needs to do to sell everyone and make this, uh, you know,
Yeah,
exciting for them to want to play in and be able to play with a guy like Shea and bring other maybe who knows who's going to turn out to another player, right? It's just
yeah,
yeah, a weird game today, and given that they had a lot of expectation and um, there was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of watch parties across Canada today for this. This was obviously the big draw today, and
it's got to be painful.
really one of the better stories in the Olympics for Canada. And to come up short, tough environment. We knew that was going to happen, and um, when they get 55 points from Yabusele, Lasort, and what's that guy Cordigny there? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a tough game plan to you got to start matching that and figure that out on the fly. And Wemby's not really a
yeah.
factor offensively, so
Yeah,
give
and
France some
bravo
credit.
for the French. Like what did a lot of these guys weren't their consistent starters, right?
Right.
Uh, Tilakina, was he starting all tournament? I don't know. He was
I don't
out
think so.
there
No.
to really go after Shea Cordonier, who this was his first start of the tournament. Certainly, they Rudy Gobert had 3 minutes tonight. Now, I
I
think
think
something
Evan.
came out
Evan.
afterwards that he had a finger
Yeah.
injury or something like that, but he looked fine. I
Yeah.
can just see them not going after him, and because he's not a really, you know, has much offensive skill, and Yabusele and Lasort do. Like they just that was just a very perfect strategy. Let's just go barreling right at the 4 spot and seeing what we could produce. And they did it over and over and over again, and we had no way to adjust to that.
Yeah. Those
Or
two
we
guys
weren't
were like
willing.
another couple. Like they were like a couple Lou Dorts out there, just
Yeah.
bullying a little bit on the block
They're
and
big. Yeah, these
no
guys are like
answer.
we've talked about this in the past. Like this is where we'll run into trouble because these guys are like 270, 280, 6'8", 6'9", and know how to play in the paint. And you're seeing them back down RJ or Jamal Murray with no double, no bringing Kelly off the bench to see what he can do there. It just that was pretty frustrating to watch. And I don't know if it's the first kind of holes we've seen in Jordy's arm. He didn't coach a very good game, did he? It just got to be honest with him. He didn't seem like he was really had a great game plan here.
Yeah, I don't know. That'll be interesting to see if there's any more discussion about that. I mean, for him to say, "I didn't do my job. I didn't help the guys," like I understand that. Maybe that alludes to the fact Kelly didn't get minutes and an opportunity to kind of write the course a little bit. Um, I kind of just don't know. I would put more of this on the players today. Just they just didn't seem with it, missing shots. You got to be able to make shots, and you expect your shot makers to do that. I just France an experienced team, and just as the game started going, man, I was like, okay, this is exactly what FIBA is all about with good programs and veteran teams. Like Evan Fournier had 12 or 14 in the fourth quarter. He was like, there was references of like FIBA Schroeder and FIBA Mills and FIBA
Yeah.
Fournier out there today. I mean, just it is what it is,
We had,
right?
we had,
So
we had FIBA Dylan Brooks all tournament until today, and
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, Fournier outdueled Jamal Murray. Like he brought what we needed from Jamal Murray, right? And it's frustrating to see.
Yeah, the run is over, man. But it just it's been
That's all right. We'll live.
yeah. I mean, to see the rise, right? Like in the last couple of years, is this is what everybody wanted. I mean, there's some positivity with that, no doubt, and to be considered a top program now, high expectations,
Hmm.
um, you know, podium expectations. It says a lot, right? So there's a lot of credit due to the program and the staff in charge and the players committing and making this effort to do this. It's not like this was a total bust, in my opinion, in terms of a tournament. Just didn't go their way today, man, and a tough disadvantage. Playing that home crowd and uh, you know the FIBA. You know, my one thought with the officials. And this is the last thing I'll say about the officials is how I understand it's a FIBA tournament, but when you have this level of athletes and players. I mean, a FIBA as a organization has got to find a way to improve their officials and have better officials in some way because we've just seen it time and time again. It's a constant. I know they see this. I know they hear the noise. I'm not sure what they do about um, kind of film breakdown on their end for officials as an organization to look at calls and teaching moments. But I just think it 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 it's not fair to the programs, the players, the product that's out there. I just think this level has to rise somehow.
Hmm.
Like it's just because you can't like imagine the discourse right now if this was the USA playing France today
Oh yeah,
and the USA lost because
yeah,
France played well, but also
yeah,
because the officials were poor, there'd
yeah.
be mayhem, bro. Mayhem
Yeah.
out there. So I just think FIBA's got to
Canada
figure
takes
this
the
out, man.
beatings so USA can get the gold. So
Yeah,
we
I
get
don't know,
whipped,
man.
so the United States can get glory. But
I know I'm cheering for Germany, man, and their head coach, the Canadian Gordy Herbert, man. I want Germany to lay a smackdown on France big time, man. So I'll
yeah,
be cheering for
yeah.
them.
So yeah, what's the future of this program? Where do we go from here? You think?
Well, I just think, listen, from where it's come in a short amount of time, and across the board, you look at senior men's team, senior women's team, the 3x3 had a moment to, special moment to try to get to a medal too as well. There was a lot of expectation for Canada basketball this summer. Fell a little short, but with their leadership group, Michael Bartlett and others, I just think the program is exciting. And for the senior men, I mean, it'll be a little down window now, obviously, but the next we'll have the America Cup coming up, right? Is the next kind of big
Hmm.
one, I think. But yeah, the World Cup and the talent that's out there, they're gonna make. When they go to make a team and select a roster for the next for the World Cup in 2027, I mean, there's going to be a lot of speculation about who or shouldn't be on the team and people competing for spots. I think Canada basketball is now very attractive for the top players in this country, especially when you have buy-in from a guy like Shea. Like this
Hmm.
seems to matter to him, and he's embraced being that top guy in the face of the program. I don't see how other guys don't get excited about it, man.
I'm gonna put you on the spot because you always like to ask your guests their five greatest Canadians or your starting
Oh
five.
man.
I want you to name me the starting five for Canada at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics.
Okay. Shea
You might
Gildas
need
Alexander.
okay,
Okay. Lou Dort.
okay.
Dylan Brooks. RJ Barrett. Zach Eady.
Okay. So just
I don't know, man.
one change
Yeah.
from this starting five.
Because the guys on the team this summer, that'll be like probably last run, prime years. I mean, RJ's still really young. People forget that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so, if they want to play and they want to do this again, feeding off of obviously the disappointment today against France and with a need for a big, and we're praying that Zach, turns into something, that's viable and a solid pro, which I believe is going to happen. Um, yeah, I mean, you put him in there, solve some size
Does
problems.
that solve the size issues with it? What's now it's still a small ball, four and a giant at the five. Does
Yeah,
that solve having like the undersized power forward? I guess it was RJ or Dylan.
I hope so. And I think like one thing I posted on X today during the game was like, okay, if we're gonna get back into this, turn it around. Like, man, we got a gang rebound. We got to hit the glass, and I'm seeing guys, our four outside guys other than Dwight come in and hit the glass. I mean, Jamal had some timely rebounds today. Um, Shea, RJ. So that'll be no different if that's what we're looking at with like the added big of a Zach Eady. And then, because, I sure hope Zach's there and gets added. And as long as, it's got to make sense, right? Like he's got to be a player. Um,
Yeah,
and then, yeah, we're going to still have the four outside guys. And because what did you say? The rebounding, France out rebounded Canada by 3 today,
one.
you know,
I think it was 37 to
one.
36. Yeah,
Right. So, despite the size difference and the muscle of Yabusele and
I mean,
Lefort, Canada was only out rebounded by 1.
wasn't a lot of
So,
rebounds to have with so many foul calls, but say la vie.
yeah. Or, what's that? Cordier making threes. And,
Yeah, I got one other
but
question
yeah,
for you.
like,
This
okay.
what besides Zach, who is the one guy that was not on this team that would make the biggest difference in Los Angeles 2028?
Man, good
What
question.
what young guy
This
you
is,
think
this
has
is,
the
this is
highest
not your
upside?
podcast, man.
or the or the opportunity to
Man,
change the fortunes of this team?
man, yeah, I don't know if you're looking at like a somebody with size, that's kind of where you want to go with that question. I think and just like one more big, but who's really out there, and you're looking at the trajectory of their career. That's hard to say. I mean, man,
I
it's
think
tough.
I still think that's got to be Leonard Miller. I think if he was in the draft
That was
this
going
year,
to be my
he'd be a lottery
yeah.
pick. So that's your
That was
probably
going to
your
be my
biggest
answer.
wild card. I don't know what he's going to turn into, but
Right.
he's I don't know how big of a big he is. He almost seems a little more wingy sometimes, but that's somebody who I think is your. I don't know if we have another lottery pick as a big in the pipeline anytime soon, but I think that's who I would be looking at.
That's my way I was going to, just because he's already kind of been with the team. He's still really young. He's a pro now. You hope the development's there. I mean, he's more long and rangy big. Like he's not super sizey like Zach or some of these other bigs that Canada face today. Like Leonard Miller's got sort of this Chris Bosh kind of thing to him.
Yeah,
But yeah,
sure.
that to me, I mean, you would think that would be someone they're going to seriously look at and consider. And I mean, they made the effort to bring him into camp this year.
Mhm.
Um, there's other guys that you would say would probably be there. Um, like a Benedict Mathurin and but
Sure,
they're
but
gonna
like,
take somebody else's spot, but they're not the size we
yeah,
need desperately. So I mean there's other additions that'll likely be there. Um Shaden Sharp, who can play a little bigger on the
yeah.
glass a little bit. But yeah, no, I mean size wise,
A consistent bench scorer would have been nice here. So Mathurin,
yeah.
maybe that's a role for him. Coming in.
Who would be your starters?
What Jamal
Who would
Murray
be
was
your
unable to
starters
do.
in Los Angeles 2028 in your backyard? Who's the starting five for Canada basketball, man?
4 years out, eh? I think I'm pretty similar. Um, the the pro. So I would go certainly SGA, but I think it's Nemhard who continues to step up. I think just
Okay.
he's grown so much in the last year. So if you look at like business, you're always looking at who's trending in the right direction, right? So
Yeah.
Nebhard, if he keeps anywhere along that path, he might be, the most likely all-star after SGA, right? I don't
And
know,
just
right? But he
signed
just he
just
just grew
signed a
so
3-year
much in the
deal.
last. What's that?
Just signed that 3-year deal too,
Yeah, but
right?
he grew
So
so much in the last 12 months, right?
yeah,
So, I kind of see him 4 years out, and sure, pick your defender, pick Brooks or Dort. I'm gonna have one of them on the floor. Maybe indifferent at this stage. And then RJ's, I think RJ took a big step in the last year, and hopefully can continue to grow. And then yeah, I guess it's obviously we have high hopes for Zach. But that's who I think we're really looking at. And I don't know if anybody else can kind of snake in there, right? Shaden
no, I
Sharp
mean I like
is
that.
obviously the high upside one that people would be thinking about as well. But I don't know yet.
No, I like it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and the timing of it. I was kind of interrupting you with it, but I think 3-year deal that Andrew just inked as an extension with the Pacers, right? So that would
Yeah,
take him to the end of um, into the next Olympics, really.
yeah,
He'd have a year prior, but yeah, like it's it'd be interesting because you figure he'd get another deal by then, so he would be set. Because that's like you said, you mentioned earlier in the conversation, that's going to be a factor. Is like who's staring down free agency and hopefully no injuries. So there's a lot of play that goes into that, right? So um,
yeah,
there's going to be there's still going to be core pieces from this team here in Paris that'll be playing in LA, no question, but
yeah,
some other additions and maybe some new guys in the starting lineup, which would make
yeah,
a lot of sense too, right? That
yeah.
because
Where do you think?
we need to see more minutes for Andrew Nemhard, man.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Plain and
Where
simple.
do you think a 33-year-old Andrew Wiggins fits in into the next Olympics? Just
Man,
past prime.
if if he wasn't here this year, like,
Yeah.
um, who knows? One last push, or not last push, but one last opportunity as he's winding down his career. It's hard to say, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
um, you know, I wonder because he would have just taken RJ Barrett minutes this tournament, right? And RJ was really good, and um, that would be the position he'd be in, I think. So
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
yeah, with lots of outlook ahead in terms of stuff we love to talk about and roster speculation and who's in and out of the program and
So
what guys are
we
doing.
have
But
so Kelly and Dwight are both 33, right? So
yeah,
that's the
they're,
swan song for them, probably, right?
they're out.
Considering
Yeah,
what we've had in this tournament. Kem Birch, is 31. Maybe he's still around, but he needs a career revival, right? He just wasn't at that level. I don't know whatever happens with Cavangeli.
hmm
But yes, if people think our big problem is a problem now, it could be worse in 4 years, right?
it could be. I mean, the
Agree.
size thing is we've always kind of you know not just really had it like like that key productive guy. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, last
Here,
last
let
one
me give
maybe
you
Tristan Thompson.
let me give you an anecdote here, Maddie. I was scrolling through Twitter, and our big situation is so desperate, Maddie, that there's people in the comment section saying, "Hey, wait, we have Olivier Rioux in the pipeline." That's what people are holding out
Uh,
for.
man, I mean, no disrespect to the kid. I mean, he's at the next step. He's gonna be a Florida Gator. Actually, I saw him post something on Instagram today about they're doing their workouts like every program is, but I don't see it. I mean, you know, we
Yeah.
got Zach Eady. I mean, the kid is big, no doubt, but um, he's not. If you look at the size of Wemby and like, the defensive play Wemby made to rip the ball there off the dribble, like, I
Oh, yeah.
mean, that's just.
But the one
I
he
mean,
reached on RJ when RJ was had it from him
yeah,
and was going down the court, and he just go gadgeted this arm. It looked like this and just took it.
we've watched a lot of basketball, bro, and he does
What was
things
that?
that I've just never seen, right? And you can
Yeah.
even on the broadcast, you can just see how big his hands are, man.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
Yeah.
this is nuts, right? So,
I know.
yeah, the size thing for us. I mean, we listen. Canada's got a lot of strengths, perimeter, wings. So that is something you have to acknowledge and try to use to your advantage.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you just get matchups that allow you to do that. I mean, that was why I thought they ultimately beat Australia, and they weathered a little bit of the big disadvantage that Spain had. But today it was just too much, man, against a big physical experience France team, right? So
Yeah. Uh,
disappointing for a lot of reasons. A couple Warriors. I think about Kelly Olynyk and Dwight Powell, and obviously Melvin Edgem too, who is their last major competition for the senior
yeah.
men's team. I'm sure. I mean, it's 3 years to the World Cup. Maybe that's a short 3 years for some of these guys, and
Yeah.
maybe they're still part of that. Hard to say, but kind of maybe a tough way that for these guys to potentially go out where um, a guy like Kelly, who's had a fantastic career and carved out a role for himself in the NBA, and one of the leaders of the senior men's national team, to not get minutes. So I'm thinking about those guys today, and um, we do appreciate what they've done for the program, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
man. Anything else?
No, just to note that I've been furiously typing all the bigs' ages in Google in the
Yeah,
background, and Brandon Clark's only 27, and Trey Lyles is only 28. But I don't,
yeah.
not too sure those guys are getting us to gold, but they're they should be around by the next World Cup and Olympics if they're involved in the program, which may or may not happen. But
Hey,
yes,
listen,
I
man.
got nothing
Everyone can
else,
start.
Patty. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go cry, drink a beer, spend some time with my
Well,
kids.
everyone can start their roster conversation now for the next window, and we appreciate everybody always giving us a follow and a like and a download. And appreciate you, Scott, and the whole Canada basketball family. And keep continuing to support the program and support our players. And we will see you on the next episode.